resume recording, and here comes the floodgate.
Way.
Dog.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Look at all these beautiful people. Welcome.
Hello, Chrome. I see you. I see J Mills. I see Joanne.
Noel.
It's pronounced Johan.
Johan.
Joy.
Hello. Thank you for correcting me. Noel. Micah says hello.
Is it Micah or Mika? I always want to say Mika. I'm not sure. Raina.
Micah's right.
Okay.
Micah.
Kevin is here. Hello, Kevin.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to. Can you put on? I forgot to turn on closed captioning. Can you turn on the closed captioning, Eden?
Oh yeah. Let me live transcript. I'm guessing is it?
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. That's so frustrating. Oh, there we go.
I like how it gets rid of the ums and the uhs.
Gets rid of the arms and the answers is what it translated that to.
Gets rid of all arms and answers. Everyone is disarmed. Welcome back, everybody. Let's see.
Big lesson today, Caleb.
Big lesson. We've got some really good stuff coming up. Everybody was really wonderful and patient over the week. We got sort of cut off at the end of last week. Kind of ran out of time at the end. I wanted to talk a little bit more about because color is such a cool and powerful thing to include in illustrations.
It's cool and warm.
I didn't want to do it a disservice by giving it short shrift. I wanted to be able to discuss, how you can strategize your color. And what did you do there, Larissa? Are you muting me?
You said it's kind of cool, and I said, and it's kind of warm.
Oh.
Sorry, I'll leave now.
No wonder I couldn't hear you. And they're gone. Anywho, thank you, Hernanda, for the drum sting. That's good. Appreciated that. Anyway, but there's ways that you can layer your colors and especially using them along with your values, your black, whites, your grays, in order to figure out kind of what you need. And it makes it just a little bit easier and a little bit less of a puzzle and more of a game, more of like an equation, something to solve. It's really, really cool. But first, let's get into some Draw Rovers.
By chance, you didn't say anything to me in the past few seconds, did you?
No.
Okay. I just, for some reason, I had some technical problems, but okay, I'm back fully.
You are golden. You're awesome.
Oh, golden.
Ife is here. Brianna. Okay. Looking good. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. I'll get off of your monitors. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about color, a little bit more, rather. And then, it looks like something got left off of here. Make sure that, nope. Oh, that's not great. Yeah, technical difficulties. What are you going to do? All right. Not to worry. Okay, so let's take a look at some drawovers here. So we've got Dasani.
Yeah, that's how you say it.
Yay. Yeah, I trust you guys to jump in, correct me. Please don't hesitate. Let me know if I do a good job, or well, you don't have to let me know if I do a good job, but if I muck up in any way, please let me know so that I can correct it. I've got things to do, notes and everything here, so that I learn from my boo boos. Let's see here. All right. I love this. I think this is great. So we've got a fun little cuddle puddle of at least one adorable elf person and another adorable person, and they are giving each other snuggles. Now, when it comes to using light and color, you've got the color part down, and you're getting very close to the light part. There's some really really fun things going on here. There is definitely some suggested color. I'm going to throw a little bit of opacity on top of it so that I don't feel too bad about doodling. But it definitely looks like we've got some indicative light coming from, I want to say like top right in a couple of these. What would happen though if we indicated light coming from like a different direction in one? Or that the light was just partial, that it was just that it was actually really, really quite dark, like this one on the left. So I wanted to show you guys just a quick idea of what you can do. This is I'm going to show you guys a really fun technique for doing really quick light and dark overlays. If you create sort of like a flat layer, these aren't necessarily flat colors. There's definitely a little bit of shadow here. And Dasani's done a really good job of suggesting some modeling. I'm just going to go in just really, really fast. I want to show you guys a really quick way you can alter some of these things in using a digital media like this. First off, I need to rasterize these layers. Actually, I'll rasterize all my layers. All that means is that I'm going to, since these are smart layers, Photoshop remembers how big the original image and the layers are. So so if I decide to change things around or transform things, it doesn't decrease the resolution. Make it chunky and blocky, or crunchy, as I like to call it. So first off, what I do is I create two copies of the layer in question. So Dasani's initial key layers here. One, I create I go down here to where it says effects. Oh, sorry, not this one. I go to where it says levels under, I believe that's layer adjustments. There we go. Now with levels, what you can do is you basically you act kind of like a photographer. You can either expose or darken your exposure. Okay, so if I wanted to lighten things up, I take that little scrub bar there and I move everything. I take basically the rightmost little scrub pointer, scrub handle, and I move it to the left. If I wanted to darken things, I could move it to the right. Now I just want to move it to the left here, about like halfway. Okay? And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the bottom one, but opposite. I'm going to move it a bit more to the right. Not all the way, just so that things get a little bit darker. And then I'm going to take both of them, I'm going to fill them with black, like so. Now, why do I fill it with black? Because we're going to be using them as masking layers. Anything, if they're filled with black, essentially they're thought of as being covered by like film, or imagine you're doing old style special effects. If you were doing matting on a film or something, you would have to cut out the area that was going to be, that the spaceship was going to appear against the star field. You'd have to actually use either a photographic technique and expose that area, or you'd have to go in with a literal X-Acto knife and trim it out. But what we can do using Photoshop is we can just go in and paint it. So let's suggest that we want to darken this first one just a hair. I'm going to set my opacity to the pen pressure. And suddenly I'm adding shadow on one side of it. And I'll even add a little bit at the top. Let's see. Dasani, are they meant to be inside or outside?
Inside. They're sitting on a
Like
couch.
you're snuggling on a couch or on the floor?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Now all this does is just darken the colors that are already there. So you're literally, all you're doing is just like de-exposing or re-exposing. You're erasing the mask. Yeah, you're creating transparency by adding white. Now, on the top one, what you can do is if you wanted to include a little bit of like, what if there was a doorway that was open on one side, and we had a little bit of a shaft of light that was cutting across.
Are you using the color white?
Yep, it's just white. It's exactly the same thing that I just did, but I'm doing it on the opposite layer here. So let me label them for you. One is lighter, and one is darker, like so. Pretty wild, huh? I'm literally painting with the colors that you've already included, just sort of jacking them up a bit. I'm exposing them up just a teeny bit more. And you can go in and you can erase them. You can put them back in. They're literally the same ones that were there before. Pretty impressive, huh, Dasani?
Yeah.
You can add another layer, exactly like we just did, and mess it all up just like that. Now what we can do is we can set it to color dodge. And when I'm doing color dodge, I almost always set it to black, or fill it with black rather, so that it in pure black. Otherwise, the colors get they get altered. They tend to color dodge always makes things look warmer and brighter. And Brianna, yes, it absolutely works exactly the same way in Procreate. It's something that it's very easy to replicate. It's literally 2 steps. Make a new layer, fill it with black, set it to levels. So 3 steps, but you get the idea. And if you want to, you can literally take, I'm going to go into here to the clipping, or to the color dodge layer. And as long as things are bright enough, sometimes they have to be a little bit brighter.
So Caleb, just for clarification, the levels is the same thing as adjusting the opacity is what someone's asking.
Levels are the same thing as adjusting the exposure of the lights and darks. You're literally just changing the values just by either light or darker. Levels are what people who scan in documents tend to use in order to get rid of the color of the paper, for example. It's really good for just doing an overall photographic alteration of the values of your drawing. And then what you can do is just go in and with color dodge, you're doing the exact same thing, but you're not just lightening things up, you're actually warming them up as well. Like so. Like and this one, for example, here, you could actually say that maybe the light is coming in from the other direction. Actually, I might need to do this first. So let's grab some white. Let's lighten up the blanket from the opposite direction. Let's put a little bit of some sort of window shape on the ground behind them. I'm suggesting that they're like on the floor, or you know, that they've been filling in a sleeping bag. And then I hit that, I jump back up to the color dodge layer, and I hit the more, the side that I just sort of brought up into in value. And I just give it a little edge, sort of, in order to lighten it up just a bit further. Three levels, or 3 layers rather. That's all you really need. Something darker, something lighter, and then something to either, you know, punch it up a bit further or dull it down just a bit further. But you got the idea here. It's a very, very strong idea. All you need, you got the color down, mainly there for suggesting either time of day or that there's a slight change in the mood. If you want, I'll not only be saving these JPEGs, but I can see if I can dump the entire PSD into the file here. I've got it right here open. So as soon as I'm done with today's drawovers and the lecture, I'll just take the whole thing and plop it onto the drive.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, Caleb. And also if people have questions specifically for Procreate, I did put some tutorials and the resources on Discord about how to utilize clipping mask if that part's kind of like escaping you.
Lisa had a really good questions. It's Caleb, does PSD mean you can see the layers? Yes, PSD means a Photoshop file. Procreate also reads Photoshop files. It can make its own files as well, its own format, but it reads them just as easily. And
yeah,
yes,
so you guys can open this.
The layers are intact. Sorry, didn't mean to jump over you there.
Oh, no. I jumped over you. I was going to say, so you can open this in Procreate, even though Caleb's doing this on Photoshop, and you can see exactly it.
They'll still work the same. There are some changes with like color dodge and some things, but all the ones that we used here will operate exactly the same way. Let me see here. It does have some limitations. Procreate does not like giant crunchy files. So if there's anything superfluous here, like with slides or anything like that, I will get rid of them just so that the draw over stuff and those layers are intact. So they won't be too crunchy. Okay, so let me grab this and I will shrink it down. Boom. Next. We've got Yaya. Now, can I call you Yaya? Is that all right?
Yes, please.
You got it. I need to sign in before I dump anything onto the server. So, Yaya, I gotta tell you, this is such a really cool moment. I love how this could be like in a slightly sophisticated, because it's a little scary, kind of children's book, because it's got this glorious moment. We have these two beautifully depicted silhouettes of girls. and you've got a shadowy sort of antagonist up in one corner, and the poster that they're putting up, suggesting love, is like the light source here, and I love it so much. I feel like you really, again, you nailed it. It's less about depicting light and color realistically, even though that can sometimes lend legitimacy to your story. What it's really about is trying to capture an emotion. And you're just like, you're literally thinking, does it work better as yellow, or does it work better as pink or red? It's like, what do you want this to look like? And that's kind of the best thing about this in many ways. Here, let me. Do you mind if I do the exact same thing that I did for Dasani for you?
Go ahead.
All right. Because to be honest with you, there's not a lot that I would change here, except for maybe putting a little bit more rim light because the characters are so close to the light source. I might put a little bit more reflection on their faces. Let me grab that real fast and do another one. Well, I guess I don't need to make more colored things. It'll just do it for me. All right, so I'm going to take one, move it about halfway over. I'm going to do that one on the top because that'll be my lighter layer. I tend to put lighter ones on the top because it tends to work better if you layer them that way. So the darker layers, like if you're putting shadow, they tend to not get in the way of the lights, and if you have shadows, the lights don't get in the way of them. So I'm going to move this one over to the other side. And then I'm going to fill them both with black so that they are basically kind of occluded. Again, imagine that there's like black film covering them, and you can use your little brush here to sort of erase the black just by painting white with it. And the way I'm going to do it here is literally just jump in front and put a little bit of... I'm actually going to just grab something kind of big and just kind of make a glowy effect coming from, and I might get rid of the little turn corner, like it's the image, not necessarily the paper, that's giving off everything here. Oh. But even so, you might think, well, it could still be kicked up a couple notches. So what you could do is create another layer, set it to color dodge, fill it with black. And crank up the light source even further. And again, don't forget to show the light source on the faces of our people. Now, when it comes to doing stuff like this, just remember you want to make sure that your values are kind of... Whoa, that's an interesting smudge. Oh well. I can always tell when my kids have been photoshopping. Textures, do I have any smudges in here? Probably not. Let's see. I'm going to go down here. I know I'm taking forever. Just give me 2 secs to find something I can use. Why not? I'll just use that. All these brushes, by the way, are straight out of the can. These are Kyle T. Webster brushes that he basically does all the brushes for Adobe now. He used to work for himself, but now he works for the man.
Yeah, I was like, he's got that Adobe money.
He's got that sick Adobe fundage. as long as you are layering your values, so it's like, and I'll talk about this in just a few minutes, so that you have your lights up against darks, and that the darks are up against lights, then we will pay attention to what's going on here. If you don't do that, then we can kind of lose things. And sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes you want to sort of, if something's not, you know, the star of the show, you can kind of bury things a little bit, like our monster here. You know, if I put a little bit of rim light on the front of the monster, suddenly we pay a lot more attention to it. Or maybe if I don't put rim light on it, but if I put if I put a bit more shadow, or sorry, not shadow, but light along its silhouette. If I extend that light out a bit more, suddenly its silhouette is sort of called out. And again, we pay more attention to it. And that may not be what you want to do. Let's do my darker work. Oh, because I'm in a race. Doi. Doi is just my generation's way of saying duh. That's all it is. I don't know if anybody here even says doi. Like so. So if you can do that if you want to, but we will be noticing your baddie a little bit more. So it kind of depends. You suddenly realize that this is kind of like it's kind of like being a cinematographer. You get to decide what's up against the light, what the light is calling out, and what it isn't. The term for this is called mise en scène. It's exactly the same term that cinematographers use, or that scenic designers use for stage. Everything that's in the scene, or in the camera, I should say, in the eye. Pretty cool, eh? Caleb and his rim light. Raina, you know my love affair with rim light, and I will not be shamed. Let's see here.
It's very cinematic.
Oh yes. So Yaya, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Honestly, this is a really great little moment, and I'm not really here to change anything. I'm just here to show you how you could punch it if you wanted to. Just by heightening making your lights lighter, making your darks darker, and layering them on top of each other just a little bit further, you can make this scene really sort of look more dimensional, or have it have volume. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, but other than that, I feel like the composition, the moment is really, really sweet. And I love how the creatures in the corners just like, curses. I just love it. Love, that stinks. Trying to watch movies to get cinematic inspiration. Realize a lot of my favorites are distinctive, like Amelie, Wes Anderson. Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. The people that made those films, the cinematographers that filmed those movies, were absolutely about trying to capture emotion rather than show us real life. Even Wes Anderson, who he tends to film slices of life, but he films them like they're fairy tales, with lots of symmetry and lots of symbolism and things like that. Amelie was made by the same guy who did City of Lost Children and Delicatessen, both of which were really sort of sophisticated, almost like horror movies. The director, let's see, Amelie director, I'm blanking on it at the moment. Jean-Paul Junot, yeah. He's this old French dude who actually not only did that, he's also done action movies. And he even did one of the Alien movies, if you can believe it. He did Alien Resurrection, with just this crazy cast of amazing international stars. It's really, really cool. Anyway, check it out. If you're interested in that sort of thing. All right, so let me save this again. Spinny beach ball. Here we go. I'll just call it Yaya. The secret of the Yaya draw over. I had to make a joke. I'm sorry. Oh, Paris Je t'aime. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Even Paris Je t'aime is a great little anthology film. Even the Coen brothers had a little shot in that. It was really, really great. It had Steve Buscemi in it as this guy who was trying to find his way onto the next. He was just waiting for a train in Paris as a tourist. It's so great. All right, Kia. I got to tell you, I loved this so much. It's a forest, right, Kia? Kia Walker, are you with us? No, maybe not. They may have. Oh, they are there. Okay, good, good.
I was like, they're here.
I can't even. I love your handle, Kia. So these are definitely meant to be treaties, yes? Excellent. Okay, so I'm not going to worry too much about the shadows here or anything like that. But here we can. Obviously, they look very sort of spindly and a little threatening. They're meant to. These don't look like. I mean, they're more pillars than anything else. But they literally can be almost anything you want. It's so cool. The only thing I would do differently here is try and get your values just a tiny bit crisper so that we have a clear foreground, midground, and background. So let me try and show you what I mean by that. I'm just going to select the top portion here. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. And just sort of give it a bit of a frame so that I can paint underneath it. The idea being, so these are, I'm assuming that these are meant to be kind of threatening trees. Feel free to just answer in the chat, Mia. Or Kia, sorry about that. Oop. Oh, nuts. There we go. Why is everything terrible? There we go. Sorry, I just had a bit of a technical issue there, but we're back. Okay, good. When it comes to displaying depth, I feel like you've done a really great job here, but I feel like you need to make it even simpler than you've done it. You know, you've got this beautiful pink in the background. Let's make that the color of the air or whatever on the other side of the, you know, like, or just the like maybe like a mist that's in this weird forest. Is that okay, Kia? Yes, a scary forest. Okay, cool. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue your scary shapes, but I'm going to amp them up a little bit further. One of my favorite artists, her name is Becky Cloonan, and she does the greatest trees. She does them all pretty much in ink. She's a phenomenal comic book inker. And one of the great things about trees that are meant to look sort of threatening and dead is that they're kind of skeletal. You know, so don't. Again, this goes into storytelling because it's about shape language. It has a little bit to do with the fact that you can suggest that these trees Even though they're clearly trees, they could be something else. They could remind us of something that reminds us of our own mortality. And the way that I'm going to sort of like establish depth here is through the ground plane. I'm going to try and use the light here to show which ones are in the front and which ones are in the back. I actually did a drawing very similar to this for a role-playing game recently, called Alice is Missing. And it's really sort of stylized, but it works really, really well because it's just basically super duper simple shapes. Suggesting that I'm immortal. I'm sorry if I insulted you, Charity. I do not mean to suggest that you are immortal. Please do not vanquish me. Most of you guys are probably much more powerful than I am. I know Eden is. Try not to get on their bad side. It says trying to get on their bedside. That's terrible. Okay, so in that way I can sort of like lean into the shapes in the background here. I can continue to sort of, don't ask for that challenge. I will be vanquished. I can continue to sort of add slightly lighter ones back there, but to be honest with you, it's like, are the trees the main attraction here, or is there something that's coming through the trees or something that's about to? Okay, so and maybe it's going to be like this little figure clad in something that stands out really brightly. Little figure clad in like a white cloak coming through, or maybe it's a ghost, or I'm not sure exactly. Little things like that. Definitely doing creepier cheese. Yes. All right. Well, it gets you an idea, right? The whole point here is that it's not just about the shape language or anything like that. It's about making use of the colors that you got. Okay, so here it's looking very sort of monochromatic. Here it's a little bit more colored, all right? But it's still not super high contrast. It's still, I'm still trying to make use of the palette that you've left. All I'm doing is trying to exaggerate just a little bit and simplify it. And you could do the exact same thing with all of these and give it each one slightly different moods. And yes, you could come in here and you could do the exact same thing that I did before, which is to create a couple level layers, because they work exactly like you'd expect them to. Go to the, now this will be lighten. This will be darken. Draken. I've been doing this 20 minutes. Okay, so I got like 3 more to go. All right, so and then I fill up both with black. Again, sort of like put a sheet over it or a piece of film. And then I can crank it up even further if you want to. I can put like a bit of a highlight on the underside of the trees to suggest, a light source, or I can put, I can suggest that maybe your character here is a lantern, or put some texture on the side of the bark. Kind of like now it sort of reminds me a little bit of the sort of the Ivan Earl trees from Sleeping Beauty. You know the ones from like the animated one, or something that's kind of Mary Blair-ish, who also worked on Sleeping Beauty. Anyway, lots of, and of course you can just take it right off if you don't like it. And all you've done is paint with white. That's it. Pretty wild, eh? All right, so there's lots of different things you can do with this. All you need to do is create 2 additional little layers here to play around with levels, and it'll give you all sorts of ideas about how you can take that opportunity to jack up the levels and make things uh, figure out where you want the audience to look just with using values. All right, 2 more. Oh man, this is Kevin Bell's The Horror Trees. Thank you,
I
Ewan.
love Kevin's little one-eyed character
I
so
know,
much.
right? This crazy Cyclops bear. I love it so much.
I know. I love how like inviting that character is so much.
It's just dynamite. Kevin, if you're here, thank you so much for gracing us with this magnificent little scene. It's really, really sweet.
You're welcome.
Got this fun little girl, and she's wearing like wellies or or galoshes. She's got an umbrella. It's been raining outside. This cute little monster is like, I just want someone to read me a story, and we've all been there. And it's fantastic. The light source is a little iffy, mainly because both of them, well, actually 2 of them, it's not, I shouldn't say iffy. It's just a little unclear on the top one. It does look like it's kind of it's like they're outside in a sort of a surreal landscape. The other 2 kind of look like the light source is coming from the book or from the little girl's reaction. Not reaction, but interaction with the Cyclops bear. And I'm calling it a Cyclops bear with our beastie. And is this a story that you've been working on for a while, or did you just come up with this, Kevin?
Yeah, I was working on this for class. I just came up with the idea.
Okay, this is fantastic. I love it. Um, the let me see if I can take the bottom one. Actually, you know what? No, I won't. I'll take the middle one because it does look kind of to me like, I mean, for one thing, this is the color values that you've got, or color scheme that you've got here is very the one in the middle looks to me like it's the most triadic. It's got red, it's got blue, it's got gold or yellow, and it seems to me like it's even though it's fighting the most, or it has the most like action regarding the colors. It definitely is the most balanced. The bottom one seems the most analogous. You know, it's just blue for the most part, blue and yellow. And then the top one, I don't know. It looks a little bit more Dr. Seussy. You know, we've got these bright colors against a white background, and it's all about that contrast. It's really beautiful. Which one's your favorite? What would you say out of these 3? Which one do you think comes closest, Kevin?
I like the middle one
Okay.
the best. Because of her hair.
Oh, the hair looks fantastic.
And the way he looks.
No, he does. He's adorable. Eden, which one would you say is your fave? Do you have a fave?
When I was looking at it, I think the middle one's probably my favorite because I think like the overall like color in it feels like the most harmonized, and it gives me almost Fantastic Planet vibes.
Yes, Fantastic Planet. If you guys, Eden, would you mind dropping a like a link to the YouTube movie? I believe it's still on YouTube, or if you can, or just to the Wikipedia article of Fantastic Planet. It's a beautiful French/Czechoslovakian piece of animation from the 1970s. I've shown it to Eden like 3 times, I think.
Yeah, but it's good. It's really weird.
It's super duper weird, and it's just if you've never seen it before, it will blow your mind. It'll give you animation like you've never seen before. Oh, Maureen's seen it. Yes, it's very existential. The whole thing is done with like cut out pieces of paper and ballpoint pen. It was made under the worst circumstances by really wonderful artists that had never really animated before. Um, and it basically is this beautiful little piece of art that could have been never been made like the way it was in under any other circumstances. Seen it in my club, so I don't know. Yeah, that sounds just about perfect. Let me just take a quick stab at the middle one here. That hair is so good. Mwah. Love it. I do want to give it just a tiny bit more curl, so I'm going to extend the shadow out just a bit. I don't know how life or how painty you want to make this, Kevin. So I'll try and keep it more or less as you've left it. I do want to handle that tangent though, because oof, that sucked it to me. This is, oh, I just love it. It's just a fun little intimate scene taking place in this really big, weird world. But it's not so weird that the mountains don't look like mountains. And that the alien creature here, or if he even isn't, the fantastic creature, doesn't look like something, he's friend shaped, as we would say in character design class. He's doesn't have a threatening aura about him at all. And this little kid with the big, beautiful cloud of red hair is vibing. So she just busts out, I don't know, The Hobbit or whatever. I'm not really sure what book she's reading, or that they are reading, but they're tearing it up, and this monster is in love with whatever it is she's doing. I would put a little bit of shadow in here, mainly again just because to provide just a little bit of contrast with the glow that you're creating. And I think the glow should probably be, I'm going to heighten it up just a hair here. I do think it should be a little bit more dominant. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to obscure your lovely little hand there, though. All right, so here's what I'll do. I'm going to create the same sort of levels layers that I have been doing. But I am going to create another. Oh, let me make one more thing here. I'll turn this down to almost nothing right now. I do want to put a little bit more shadow on our dude. If for no other reason, just to give something for the light and dark to sort of bounce off of, something to play with. I'm setting it to multiply, so that way it'll actually it'll ignore anything that isn't already colored. It'll just darken it just a hair. And that way it looks like the light is coming from her book. There we go. And then we can push the remaining bits. Whoops. Again, it darkens everything, so you want to be careful. And I'm just going to clean up the background just a little bit and make it a little bit flatter. I do like the idea of some sort of detail, something to diminish as we go back. But I feel like at the moment, because it is so sort of picture booky, that it doesn't need to be airbrushed. Airbrush is a pretty powerful tool for suggesting things in painting or digital painting, but it try and include other articles in your arsenal here. Put a little bit of blue on his little butt there. There we go. So happy. And maybe we can put a little bit. If he's got some shadow, then maybe she should have some shadow too. Unless she's like a ghost, which makes me sad. There we go. Yeah. All right. So then I'll create my two. Oh, whoops. I don't need to create them because it'll do it by itself. Create two levels. Make one lighter. Make one darker. Okay. And then fill them both up with black. And then if I want to, I can just come in here and suggest a little bit more. Oh, that's very light. I might want to take that down here. There we go. See, you can always adjust. See that little corner up there? You can always adjust how light is light whenever you feel like it. Just put a little bit of suggestion in the background. And then here, if I want to, I can put a little bit of shadow on our little cute little monster dude. He doesn't actually lose a whole lot. He just, or loses a whole lot. He just becomes just a little bit darker the closer he gets to the ground. Again, it depends on how you want to paint him. If you don't want him to be sort of sculpted like that, if you'd rather have him be more or less flat, like our little girl is here, then that's awesome. But I definitely would try and create some sort of balance between the light that's coming out from her book and the light that's on his face. Try, because it's meant to be the same light. So try and make it like this, try and make it similar to each other. That's basically it. Really, really strong stuff here. I feel like you guys, you're nailing it. This is so great. All you need to do is just play just a little bit more with making your lights lighter and your darks darker. Oh, she falls through a puddle. Oh, this is so great. Just chilling on another planet, as you do. All right, I'm going to save this one more time. I got like 10 more minutes here before I can swap this out. I've been at this for an hour. Oh my God, it does not feel like it at all. I'm so sorry, guys. Let me, I've got one more to go, and then we'll stop.
I believe in you. You can get it done by 4.
Heck yeah.
I can let you know when it reaches 4, Caleb, if you want.
Okay, let me see if I can get this one more done by 4. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Julia
yeah.
Mills, you tackled this with watercolor, and my hat is off to you. Well, not really, because I don't want to take it off, but you get the idea. This is so great. You really did nail it. Not only is the colors different, but the way that they interact with each other is different. You've got one far right, which is very analogous, but kind of drab. It makes you sort of feel, oh, there's a lot of blues here. Even the pink on the wall, or rather not pink, it's kind of like a lavender. Even that is kind of blue. Everything's a little sad almost. It makes me, at least that's the way I think of it, being from, with my background and my association with color. Yeah, good job for anybody who tackled this with traditional media. Excellent work. Or to be honest with you, with any media. But I just happen to be especially happy when I see somebody who just handled paper and pen. That's all. Just makes me happy. Then you've got one that's especially warm. I immediately think, okay, well, this is maybe not as threatening. It still looks analogous. Number 2 here in the middle. So let's say 3 is the most analogous. 2, 1. 1 has definitely the most contrast. But I feel like number 1, because those are spring colors, it immediately makes me think, oh, it's like a little fairy tale cottage. It makes me think that it's actually kind of a nice place. Number 2, because it's so warm and so hot, it makes me, and because there's such a contrast between it and the blue shirt that she is wearing, immediately makes me think, okay, that maybe she feels out of place here. Because the entire inside of this room is, or that I can see anyway, in this panel is super warm, and she's not quite that warm. And then we've got number 1, which probably makes me feel like it's like, even though it's kind of triadic, we've got greens and yellows and golds, and a little bit of warms. It's mostly sort of balanced. It's not super cool. It's not super hot. So I kind of feel like if it were a happy story, or if this were a happy place, balanced place, we'd be going with this. If it's meant to be sort of like, oh, I'm out of place, I'm new here and I don't feel like I belong, we'd go with this. Or if it's like a moment where I'm sad because my little sister got sucked into another dimension, she's hanging out with a giant Cyclops bear, it would be this. I need to go get my sister back. Yeah, 1 is the spring cottage. That's what I was saying. Johanna.
It's Johan.
Johan. For crying out loud. I'm so sorry. Johan. Nice. Okay. Thank you, Johan. Appreciate it. And I got ink on my fingers for that ding-donginess. All right. I don't have a whole lot to say about this. You could still push the shadows just a little bit further if you wanted to. Here, like so. But because there's so much suggested light already, I feel like she's inside, it's indoors. There's a lot going on here. It's a beautiful little illustration. And I feel like it's kind of great just by itself. I don't want to muck it up too much. Yeah, the only thing I would do is try and find ways to push the relationship between the star of the show, the girl, and the interior of this house, if it's important, in a way that emphasizes the contrast, or in a way that emphasizes the fact that they're meant to be together, or in the fact that she's not in a happy place. Okay. Yeah, Julia, this is so great. You made my job really, really hard with this one, mainly because it's like any one of these would work. But I would still recommend you push the shadows just a teeny bit more. And because it is because it's indoors, I would make the shadows warm, because there's a lot of, especially with like a cottage like this, there tends to be a lot of reflected bounce light in a place like this, and so warms tend to be recirculated in an indoor environment, unless of course it's number 3, in which case you probably just want it to be as super sad as possible, or as drab as possible. It depends on what you want. 3 really great color strategies that correspond to 3 very different points in the story. It just sort of depends on which one you want. Oh, The Shining for color ideas. Oh, really, really great. Yeah, Stanley Kubrick, really great in terms of picking colors. Do you have a favorite one, J. Mills? Julia?
The center one is probably closest to what I would want for the feel of the story.
Was I accurate? Is it about like that they don't really feel at home in this place, or that they
It's about a girl who goes to her grandmother's house and is out of place, and there's somebody behind the door. So
nice.
we're just waiting to see that reveal.
So it's a Cyclops bear. No, it's not a happy story, Caleb. It's if it were a Cyclops bear, it would be a very happy story. Okay, Julia, this is fantastic. Really, really great. Just yeah, like what I said before. Pick which one of these you want and drop it into your story, and just revolve everything else around that. Make the blue versus red like a motif, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. Okay, man, I am tired of talking. And we're nearly there. I am proud of you all for surviving this long.
You did good on your 4 o'clock mark.
Thanks, man. Eden, you're a gem. Appreciate that.
I just hold the whip of time.
That's it. Oh, time. Thank you for holding the time whip.
Watch out.
All right, so this is Julia. Draw over. Boom. Okay. Let's get moving into some different stuff here. I've got a couple different things I want to discuss with you. So let me stop sharing. We're going to jump over into a slightly different topic. Did you do a whip sound like a whoosh?
I did, and now reflecting on it, I then started singing the Samurai Jack song in my head.
Good stuff.
Watch out.
Best stuff, I should say. All right, let me share a new folder with you guys. I meant to put this into the Photoshop file, but I had, as I mentioned before, some technical boo-boos happen. Let's see. Okay. So, how do you know what value and what colors to put around what? Really, really simple. There's this principle that you can use in order to figure out. It's not a rule, okay? It's a principle. A rule is something that doesn't work unless you do it that one way, and a principle is something that has always worked, and so you can use it or you can change it. Okay, it's more like a tradition more than anything else. This one is called the windmill principle. And it basically is a really great formula or form for putting values up against values and colors up against colors and figuring out how dark you want to go, what hue you'd like to use, how bright you'd like to make it, stuff like that. So let me just put this into perspective here. Oops. And I've got some examples here to show you how that works as well. All right. So the windmill principle. Where's my preview? Here we go. There we are. All right, so we've got this really beautiful, very simple painting of a windmill. I would say this is from the 1830s, without knowing exactly who the author or the painter is. It looks very romantic. It looks a little symbolist. It also has a really good sort of indication of how to make the star of the show stand out. And let's say Johan, what is the star of this show? What is this painting? Who is the star of the show of this painting?
Windmill.
The windmill. Okay, yeah, very simple. But how did the painter pull that off? And how did they figure out a way to make, because the windmill here is at an angle, and there are parts of it in shadow and there are parts of it in light. And if you look at it, there are different parts that look darker than what's around them, and parts that look lighter than what's around them. And that's in a nutshell is how the windmill principle works. Just remember, there are 4 different ways to layer your colors and layer your values. Just 4, right? So there's no real reason to get overwhelmed when you're painting and you're just like, oh, I have so many colors. Oh, I have so many values. Well, they can only really work using this principle in 4 ways. 1, you can put light up against dark. See that top sail on the windmill there? Okay, that's lighter than the sky behind it. Light against dark. So it comes towards us. You can put light against light, like the second one, if we're going clockwise, the second sail on the windmill, and it kind of fades away a little bit. It definitely doesn't have a whole lot of contrast. You can put dark against light, like the bottommost sail, and that really pops out the contrast again. Or you can put dark against dark, like the one that's foremost coming out at us, but again, it's kind of getting lost. All right, it's turning into mud, but it contributes to the whole, making it look like it has volume. So light against dark, light against light, dark against light, or dark against dark. One of those 4. Just pick one. And if it's the star of the show, it's going to be the first one or the third one. Light against dark or dark against light. If it's not meant to be what people are meant to be looking at first, light against light or dark against dark. Because there's less contrast. There's more affinity in those 2. So either contrast, the first and the third, or affinity, the second and the fourth. Okay? You are the conductor. You are the one waving the magic wand. You get to make these decisions on your own. And it's so cool when you realize, okay, well, what do I want? It's going to be one of these. Let me show you some examples. Okay? So here's a different painting. Now, see that horse there on the right? If we look at the back of that horse's neck, we see light against dark. Or I should say, no, light against light. Okay, because the back of the horse's mane is light, and it's up against that golden hay or the hill that's drenched in sun, and we're kind of losing it, right? Number 2, Johan, what would you call that?
Light against dark.
Light against dark. Very good. We look at the beautiful little haunch on the horse, which captures our eye because the artist is using that to kind of frame that picture and pull us back around. Okay. Then we've got 3. Okay. We've got it's in the shadow of the horse, and he's kind of lost the hooves in and amongst the weeds there. Johan, what would you call that? Remember, it's in the shadow. Number
Dark
3.
against dark.
Dark against dark. And number 4?
Dark against light.
Dark against light. Isn't that crazy? Anytime you have a beautiful painting like this, you can look at it and say, okay, well, am I meant to be looking at this? Is there meant to be sort of a volume evoked here, or is it meant to look deep? Or who's the star of the show? And immediately look for one of those 4, or at the very least analyze to see if you can catch one of those 4, and you'll be able to see it. There's another one. This one is by, oh gosh, it's driving me crazy. Eden. Zorn, Anders Zorn. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I was looking for my tab. Sorry, but yes,
No,
you've got it.
I feel like a total jerk. Okay, Anders Zorn, who's this incredibly famous European artist, mainly because he painted almost all of his paintings using only 4 colors. Titanium white, black, what was it, Prussian blue, and then it was phthalo green? No,
Blue?
and phthalo green.
Yeah, I was like, blue is sometimes added, but often not because your gray is kind of your blue.
Yeah, it's gray and it's green and it's
Yeah, burnt sienna is often in it.
yeah, burnt sienna. That's it. So it's only one of it'll be one of four colors, and the combination. If you think you see blue, what it really is gray, but it's in an area that makes you think it looks cool. It's crazy. He was just a marvel when it comes to creating these gorgeous compositions using, well, essentially kind of like optical illusions. Anyway, but he was really great at modeling, at rendering shadow against light. Here, the sleeve on the woman, that's light against light. Okay, we can sort of see where her cuff begins up against her sleeve, but it's a little muddled, it's a little lost. It's not important. Okay, he sort of uses what's known as a gestural sweep or a gestural style right there to kind of lose it. Much more clearly is the sleeve up against the wooden paneling behind her. Number 2 there. Okay, that's light against dark. Number 3, her further arm, dark against dark. We're kind of lost that in the shadow there, but that's okay. We can lose it because down to the bottom we've got 4, which is dark against light. Immediately, she pops closer to us again. It's when you think about this, it's just so simple, and there are innumerable ways that you can adjust the colors, the exposure, the shade, the hue, the tint of colors in order to give things just the right amount of push. Okay, I'll put all this stuff into the folder. I've got tons more examples here where they change the hue of the water in this scene. Compare that water to this water behind the characters. Why is it so much darker? So that these guys stand out against it. Okay. Why is this so much bluer and higher contrast? Because it's meant to catch our eye. We're meant to look at that before we're meant to look at almost anything else. Okay. Same thing here. Like, look, here's a sun-drenched meadow, but we're not really looking at that. What we're meant to look is way off in the distance at the horizon, right? Compare that painting to this, right? Look at how high key those colors are, how exposed the color of the grass is, the shadow that the trees are casting. Again, compare that to this. Immediately, what's the first thing that you're meant to look at? It's almost always going to be the thing that is highest contrast. It'll either be dark against light or light against dark. And everything else will be some sort of one of those other 4. Unless it's meant to be framed by something else. This is Sargent. Beautiful watercolor sketch. Probably took him like 10 minutes. He was a mutant. There you go. You do, Spy Sargent. You can create all the art with using this method. No, Sargent is total the goat. Sargent was magic. Okay, so what? I did not know that. That's crazy. How old is your kid?
It's his middle name is Singer, after John Singer Sargent. He's Wyeth
Almost
Singer. He's
fell
got
over.
2 painters.
That's adorable.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. Anyway, dang, powerful. That is a bold move, but it is a very nice middle name. Okay, so I've got a bunch of other things I wanted to talk to you about. And I'm running out of time, so let me see if I can.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
I can do it. I believe in.
I
me.
believe in you.
Thank you for believing in the me that believes in the me. Thanks.
Mhm.
Sorry, paraphrasing Little Hero Academia. All right. Now, so now that we've got the windmill principle under our belt, let's talk about how we can use that to create patterns. Because that's sort of where when we start taking colors and give them some sort of emotional punch in our stories. Oh, Selena, you were such a weeb. Oh my gosh. Was it Gurren Lagann? Oh, dang. Hannah, you are forgiven 100%. Imagine I'm behind you, giving you a big old squeeze on your shoulder. You're awesome. Yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
maybe I am.
Thank you.
I'm quoting Gurren Lagann. No, I'm not. I'm quoting a Pokemon. I'm quoting. I'm quoting Yu-Gi-Oh.
Motifs.
Thanks. I'm just here. Basically, like half of my lecture is just me teaching you art, and the other half is me embarrassing myself about how lame I am when it comes to anime. I'm so sorry. Um, so yeah, but I have promised. At least I've watched Avatar now, Eden. I really have.
Man, that took you a long time, but I'm really
Took me
happy
a
you
long
did
time. No, I
because
know.
Avatar is a
Everybody here in
fantastic
this
series.
class is just like, what? Sign out. And I'm out. This is terrible. They literally created an entire animation studio around this cartoon, Caleb, that you could not be bothered to watch. I'm like, yes, I am sorry. Anyway, let's talk about motif. All motif is any recurring element that has symbolic significance in a story. It's a pattern. And of course, all the slides that I wanted to show you have vanished because of my aforementioned lameness. Let me see if I can fix that. So basically, anytime a color or chrome, you don't have to twist the knife. Okay, seriously, I'm trying to learn from you guys while I am teaching you guys. Joy, thank you for nodding. I appreciate you. It's like I'm not here by myself. Okay, guys, I'm trying to learn to be a better person, be a better human being, and the way I do that, Hernanda, thank you, is to watch more anime cartoons. Yeah, so that is my TED Talk. I need to go back here. Okay. And visual storytelling. Thank you, Tiffany. Joy's like, it's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Here we go. Now, normally when I talk about motifs and color, I always end up talking about like The Great Gatsby. I know you guys have probably either seen the movie or read the book. There's been a bunch of movies actually. It's really quite good. The more recent one that Baz Luhrmann did was particularly good. But there's like this green light that is mentioned continuously in The Great Gatsby. As this the Gatsby being this kind of he basically sold his dignity in order to become this person that the woman of his dreams might actually like. And of course, what he ends up doing is, being just so close and so far. You can see the green light at the end of her dock over in Long Island, but he's like next door, but he can't actually get there. And we occasionally keep going back to that green light, that yearning sense that Gatsby has. And I'm just like, sorry, white dude, whatever. But the idea is that, he's rich and he's got like it's prohibition. He's got a gargantuan house. It's like, do you know how many people are like living in holes in the ground? What a jerk. Yellow and Green and the Little Princess. Very, very good. Thank you, Raina. There are lots of really, but the idea is that anything that comes up over and over again is a motif. And you can use motifs in a sequential way by creating what's known as a color script. Let me show you guys what I mean by that. Here we go. They're still there? Oh, dang. I would have figured that they'd be like ruined or gentrified or something by this point. Okay, so full screen. Okay, so these are 2 pages from the color script from Toy Story 3. As you can see, it's very sort of chalky and pastelly. It's very, I want to say, impressionist in style. The idea isn't to be photographic. It's meant to be sort of like a good representation of the color and the light in each shot from the movie. Um, what do we see when Toy Story 3 first begins? Okay, we see the blue of Andy's room. We see the blue of the sky and the fun little toy sequence that plays out in front of us. And then we see Andy, the little boy, and we're given like this fun little montage sequence where he's growing up a little bit. His room, even though now he's college age, is still blue. All right. He's even wearing blue jeans. He's wearing a blue shirt. So immediately, of course, there's a motif there. Whenever we think of the balanced and happy way that things are at the beginning of the film, what color is going to be on screen? Blue. All right. Of course, it doesn't stay blue for very long. Things immediately start going off the rails. There's a miscommunication between the toys. Some of them think they're going one place, and some others think they're going another. All right. When they actually get to the place that they are going to be going to, that's where colors tend to go right around the corner. They go into harsh fuchsias and greens, electronic colors, things becoming a little bit more more saturated and a little bit more threatening. Okay, blue is nowhere on the palette in those shots. All right, that's because we're far away from the happy, balanced place of Andy's room. But at the end of the movie, spoilers, of course, what happens is that Andy pulls up. His car is blue, right? And we can see that he actually makes things right, thanks to the heroic efforts of our toys. When you analyze the colors of a movie like this, or any kind of story, you have to create what's known as a color script. Now, whether you are creating a animated film like Horton Hears a Who here, this is the color script theory behind Horton. As things get, things start off with more, sort of sunny day colors. Things tend to look really kind of nice and warm and familiar and friendly. But unless the villains are on the screen, in which case things get a little drabber. And then once things really start happening to Horton and his beloved little clover flower, there's this aura of pink that that seems to sort of leach into the movie. The ground turns pink. It has nothing to do with reality. Then the sky, when we cut to the clover, it turns pink, and then the sky turns pink in Horton's overlarge reality. Everything starts turning this bright sort of this bright fuchsia until we reach this the crux, the climax right here where things are at their worst. This is after the whole, this is like way at the end of Act 4, and then finally, boom, we hear the yelp from the clover, and things start becoming sunny again. Crazy, right? It has nothing to do with anything else but just sort of like an arbitrary thing that they picked. What if things got pinker and pinker and pinker and pinker, and then suddenly it's fixed, and we go back to sunny and happy and friendly again? Kind of crazy, but it works. Anybody who's seen Horton Hears a Who, it's actually a really great little movie. Now I've got this. Anyway, that's the theory behind a color script. I can give you more examples. I think I showed you guys some examples from Iron Giant last time. Of like, there's a sequence at the end where everybody's getting scared and threatened by the giant, and the at one point the sky is like a bright, fiery orange because the sun is setting. It doesn't matter if you're making a film or a comic or a picture book for kids. You have to make some kind of color script just in order to keep your palette clean and keep it clear, so that the orange at the beginning of the book looks like orange at the end of the book. Anyway, that's one very, very good way to do it, is creating a color script. You guys are going to be taking your 18 panels and you're going to be coloring them. Okay. Now you're going to be coloring them with how we're meant to feel in mind. It's not really about reality. Remember Horton Hears a Who that we just looked at. Okay. It's not about, you know, you know, what the sky really looks like, or what your imaginary surreal lunar landscape looks like, or your spooky forest, or anything like that. What really needs to matter is that you're using a motif that reminds us, oh, this reminds me things are scary, or oh, this reminds me things are romantic and balanced, or ooh, this stuff, you know, we're getting close to the climax here. Okay. All you need to do is think of like three colors. One color that resembles or represents the story being balanced, brought back to the beginning, or the story coming to, you know, the conflict coming to a height, or comic relief. You know, something that encourages us to acknowledge the fact that, okay, so somebody's trying to pull the wool over our eyes, or something's dangerous and it's just lurking around the corner, or something like that. Okay, use three basic colors. And so where we start at one, we end at one. Again, unless it's a tragedy, in which case we might end up in a slightly different color scheme. And when things get crazy, it'll start changing to the one that you pick. It could literally be almost anything. Red's a favorite. Green and red is a favorite. Using high contrast colors where things are getting nutty, and that's about it. Exactly, it's about how the scene is supposed to make you feel. It's about color patterning or motifs. It's about basically trying to figure out a way to move the colors around and having them recur where you want them to. All right, and remember the windmill principle. It's not meant to be. It's simple, but even simple can be hard sometimes, like the simplest things. But it's literally all about just finding little emotional points and how to transition between them. So you might want to think about, I feel this way at the beginning, I feel this way in the middle, I feel this way at the end, and then think about how you want to transition between those three parts. Just like we did this whole exercise. Any questions? Does that make sense? If you do have questions for me, either email me, put it into the Discord. I'm going to take this whole kit and caboodle. I'll put all of the slides that I wanted to. Oh, Suzette, you're kind of lost. Don't you worry. All you need to do is think about how you're meant to feel at the beginning of your color script and assign some sort of color to that. Think about how you're meant to feel at the end and either assign the same color or a different one, because we end up feeling differently. And then figure out how you want things to look when the chips are down and the story's at its lowest point. Okay? But don't worry, I actually have, I meant to show you guys a bunch more examples here. Actually, we have 2 more minutes. I can do that right now.
One of my things is like, don't just think about the local color, like,
Yeah.
oh, like, my character's tan, so I'm going to give them tan skin and, whatever hair they have. Think about like, oh, my character's in the baking sun on a beach. Think about what kind of colors that make you think of oranges and reds and yellows,
Exactly.
versus just like, what you would just naturally perceive, like what the color is. Local color is how I
If it's
always.
like if he's lost in the Sahara, everything is baked. Everything is
Yeah.
bright yellow and blue, and there's like this one little spot of shadow under our main character, and like literally that's it.
Caleb, can you put your the best email to reach you at in the chat for Tiffany?
You got it. And this goes for all y'all. Boom. Oh wait, here, I know where I can find this. I've got like 2 more minutes. Just give me just a tiny bit more time here, guys. just wanted to show you one last thing before you scoot out the door. Here we go. These are other students' color scripts. And you can, some of them are complete, some of them are a little partial, but you can definitely sort of see how they're meant to work.
You're not sharing your screen.
I no, I am
Oh,
aware of
okay.
that, but I will fix it right now. Okay, so this is, it's not the whole story, or it's not a very long story. It takes place in one location, but you can definitely see how this guy, all he wants is a burger, right? And he goes to the burger place and they're out of burgers. He's locked out in the middle, right? That's the lowest point. Or it would be actually, if you didn't go like slightly mad and imagine like burger signs whirling around him. But eventually he finds his way over to a real burger place. He bites into it. He's like, oh, this is great. And the guy comes up to him, yes, isn't it wonderful to achieve our dreams? And then he's like, you left my pickles out, or something like that. Here's another one. Much more picture booky, but I think they really wanted to turn this into a comic. We have to do all 18 panels. That is correct.
And it doesn't have to be like every single panel is like its own beautiful, like perfect
No.
painting, because color script artists don't even do that either. It's more about getting down big splotches for the overall mood instead of just like fine rendering under the nose of your character or anything
No.
like that.
This
So
is
don't let it
actually
intimidate.
Yeah, this is actually really clean for a color script. To be honest with you, it needs to be more just like a quick little painted snapshot of how people feel in one specific area. Again, this is crazy detailed. Doesn't need to look like this. This is Matt Mooney.
Yeah, Matt Mooney does everything crazy detailed for no reason.
Yeah,
So
just, we're like, are you torturing yourself? He's like, yes. Here's one this is actually pretty great. This one's kind of fun and sketchy. Again, it's sort of like they're in a tree trunk, you know, they see a giant monster. You're not, you're not going to threaten me. Oh, but you don't understand, child. You're one of us. That sort of thing.
yeah, if anything, it might be good to like have your canvas like, fully far away from, or like far away from you, not like zoomed up on one panel, and then just kind of quickly paint in the colors that way. And then if you want zooming in and cleaning up in whatever areas you think you got a
Yeah,
little too
that's actually
sloppy
a
at.
really good example, a really good way of thinking about it. Think of these as just these nicely painted, fairly clear thumbnails. That's really all they are. They don't need to be a whole lot of detail in each one. This is one that the person really, they had never drawn anything before. They were a graphic artist. They just used like Illustrator for the most part, but they knew shape language and they knew how to layer values and colors. And I'm like, okay, well, go with that. Imagine you're creating like cave painting, or you're creating something that would appear on like the side of an ancient urn, and they were just like, oh, cool, like a myth. I'm like, yeah, just make something up. And they ended up creating something like this. You can sort of see where things come to a head, where things are, they reoccur. They use purple a lot. They use green a lot. Oh, and this is, I threw this in here as well. This is a portion of the color script for the movie Up. I'll put that in the look at how many panels there are. You guys are just doing 18. This is Taylor Ovilas. They did a fun sort of sci-fi story. It takes place on like Mars or something. So theirs is again kind of impressionist, but also a little photographic. You know, they wanted to use a lot of high key colors, a lot of saturated reds and blues and yellows. Pretty cool stuff. But to be honest with you, this is, and even though this is a lot more than 18, this is probably closer to what I would expect. If you like look at each one of these panels, there's like no, I mean, there aren't any fingers on the hands. There are no eyes on the face. Okay, they're literally just these little Lego figures that are in like, and each little scene, it looks like it takes place inside of a lit shoebox for the most part. And that's exactly kind of the way you want to approach it. Kind of like construction paper cutouts. Yeah, but it's you're not making beautiful painted works of art. You're painting with Legos. You're painting blocks. And then you put a little bit of light on the blocks. Is this meant to be an angry scene, or is it meant to be a happy scene? Is it meant to be a sad scene? You get to pick.
Well, Caleb, we are at
I know,
3:46.
We've gone over a little bit. Again, here's a much more detailed one. Does not need to look like this, but they really wanted to do a graphic novel. You know, they really wanted to do a little comic. Same here. About a poor snail. All they're trying to do is get away from the freaking garden. Cat bothers him. Giant monster rears its ugly head out of the dirt. Then I think what happens is the grandmother like throws it out of the garden, and they have to crawl their way back. Yeah, actually, that's exactly what it was. It was. I asked them, what's the title of the story, and they're like, "Come snail away." I'm like, "You're fired." No, they weren't fired. I gave them a raise. That was perfect. Yeah, imagine each of these is just a fun little colored thumbnail. You can use these examples if you want, but a lot of these are overly detailed. It's really about just sort of building a tiny little scene with building blocks, and then imagining where the light's coming from, and how would you like to feel in this scene, and literally that's it. Okay, that's it, everybody. Focus on big shapes, not details. Yeah, imagine like you're doing this with construction paper cutouts, or paper dolls, or little, wooden blocks or Legos or anything at all that'll make this easy. It's more about how you feel. Suggest things rather than make them clear. Okay, you are absolutely welcome. Looks like you guys are doing pretty good. Yusuf, does this make sense to you? Amrani? Okay, cool. If you guys have any questions at all, hit me up. Urena, does this make sense to you? Urena? Yes. Okay, cool. If just let me know if you have any questions, or if you're like, if you just have some examples, you're like, I did these 3. Do these look okay? I'll probably tell you pull back a little bit. Or my Google thing just talked to me. Anyway, you're very welcome, Selena. You're amazing, Selena Kohai. All right. Well, you guys are amazing as well. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourself. If you're abroad in other countries right now, try to get some sleep if you can. If not, then enjoy the rest of your Friday afternoon. You are all an absolute dream to work with and to teach, and I'm learning so much from each of you, and I want to thank you all.
Okay, great job, everyone. I'm going to end the recording. Do you want to stop?